Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with a dear friend of mine, Tuhon Nick Papadakis, and we're going to touch base on stick fighting, the competition, the evolution, and everything that goes around with it in the United States as a whole. You know, how we doing, brother? You doing good?
Good, Professor. How are you?
Doing all right, and just trying to keep busy and stay alive with everything going on. And I think you're doing the same over there as well.
Much of that. I like your shirt.
Thanks, Shiner. Well, you know, the best beer in Texas.
That's right. Had a few of those in my time.
Absolutely. And, we went over there, I think it was last year or the year before. I can't remember. We took a little road trip. I think it was last year. We couldn't go, that far with the pandemic. So kids couldn't go that far. And I said, let's just take a little road trip, a couple of days. And we passed by the brewery. Nice place. If you ever visit it, it's a real nice place.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. But let's touch base on you, on stick fighting.
Mm-hmm.
How has it changed, the problems it has, and we've been very much involved with it, you as well as I, and seen the different spectrums. Take it from there. How'd you get involved with it?
Let's see. Well, I grew up in Houston. I was doing karate as a little kid, and then Leo Gahe and some of his students at the time came into Houston and trained out of our school. And that was my first exposure to it. There was a couple of videos I had seen, of course, on half-inch VHS, but I was immediately hooked. So I've been known about it and been into it since I was about 11 years old. But back then, it was before the internet, and you couldn't get that much because those guys would travel. So you would only get little pieces, and so you were always constructing it. At the time, that was my instructor, Al Solomon, and then Kurt Doyle. I followed up with him, but they were really open to it. And, it was cool that they were open to it because at the time, like with karate and stuff, it has a very good progression to keep students, really good curriculum. And the Filipino stuff was a little bit improv'd, so they just liked the material. So it's good that they had the vision to stay with it. It wasn't necessarily great. It was good for keeping students, but you just didn't have that progression. It was always sort of like, let's do this today. So they were able to see the value in it early on. But as far as stick fighting goes, I do feel like it's at a better place than it ever has been.
Sure.
People are doing it. People are willing to put on the gear and hit, even if they're just padded sticks. I just think it's important because playing with somebody that's uncooperative is really what you're trying to do. So you have to spar. So in terms of stick fighting, I think it's healthy. There's always those same problems, but I don't know. Were you like, speaking of tribalism, we call it? I think it's just you have to create an environment that people feel welcome because they are putting themselves on the line, like with tournaments and things. But going back to the real tribalism, what I've been told and I've seen a little bit of is the Philippines, for instance. Big stick fighting culture was actually tribal. There was different areas and they were suspicious of each other. And quite honestly, a lot of cultures were like that. And maybe that stuff still carries through, or maybe now we're modern. But I don't know. I think some of that tribalism goes back to ego, I think.
Sure.
Who likes to lose? But, ultimately you're, shortchanging yourself because you're not getting that opportunity to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's I've seen it with, as you were very much a help of when USA Savat made the committee of the Gentlemen Stick Fighting Coalition, because there was nobody that did Khan. We had
Mhm.
nobody that did Khan. We couldn't play with anybody. It was the same guys in our school that did it and over and over and over.
Mhm.
So there was nobody else that was doing Lacan. No other professors, unfortunately. We do have other instructors out there, but trying to get them going into the gear was too much.
Mhm.
Each one of those suits was at least 1,000, 1,500 bucks. Who has a 1,500 bucks to dish out, really?
Right.
So, and it's a lot more. It's as expensive as kendo, but at least the kendo clubs have grown to the point that there's a lot of uniforms and stuff, equipment that you can at least borrow or buy somebody else's if they're not going to do it anymore. But here
Mhm.
there was none. So only one company made it, Sport Set in France. The last one I ordered was in '98, and I ordered two of them. And back then, it cost me, I think it was like $1,300 per plus shipping and everything. So you're talking about 1,500 bucks.
Yeah.
So how are you going to give these out to the clubs that are very very small? But so when we formed it, we formed the rules, and it had to be implied. The strike had to be implied. The arming of the strike had to come in. You couldn't, be bouncing back and forth with the wrist.
Uh-huh.
It had to actually be, as you well know, and that changed it a little bit. Folks from the different Arnis, Eskrima, Kali, the Irish stick fighting, of course, Lacan, all the other stick fighting arts over there, they can come into a commune of rules and be safe about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's nice. But what we did run into was, like you say, the ego, the tribalism. I don't think it's really tribal. I think it's just like we don't do it that way, so we're not gonna go with you guys. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. That's tough, but I mean, like I have my own tournament as well, and it has a set of rules. And I mean, I do Dog Brothers, but I do have a tournament, and I want it to be very, very safe. Like a lot of times, as you know, you got 3 kids and you got 5 adults, and you're like, well, the kids want to play, or you try to do females, but screw it, let's all have them fight each other, and that's why I want it safe. But it's just a set of rules. It doesn't mean you're not good. It's for fun. Honestly, that at least my tournament is, and I think yours is too. It's for learning, and let's get out there and just do it. Like, okay, there's rules. Let's just play in those rules. I mean, do them all. Do all the tournaments.
Sure, absolutely.
Like,
And it has to be encouraged because you can see the different ones. There's not one that's better than the other. I think everybody has its place in
yeah.
time, but you got some guys and also you have to go with what the state allowments are
Oh
required,
gosh, yeah.
because over here everything falls, USA Savat falls underneath the Department of Licensing and Regulations. And if they find out that you're actually doing a stick fighting tournament and you're punching and kicking, well, they're going to come in there and they're going to say who you under. And if not, you're going to get a nice little fine. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
You're going to have to balance everything together for people not to get into trouble. And unfortunately, it happens. But you all have designed equipment that is above grade and is equipment. Tell me how that progression came along. Besides the sticks that are padded, the rest of the equipment.
Well, I'll tell you before that, even that for us, it's sort of the opposite. So like we can get insurance for kicking and punching tournaments, but the second you add a stick, it sort of negates it. So as far as my tournament, it's I use various padded sticks, and it's fencing masks, which by golly, the fencing mask is so well designed. People think it's not good protection, but it's really well designed. I mean, it has hundreds of years. Well, yeah, probably a couple hundred years of development, plus the Olympics, so they have the Olympics behind it. And then the gloves, I have the KIL gloves, which are essentially lacrosse gloves. And that's about it. You can wear a cup if you want. You can wear elbows and knees if you want. But yeah, that's how for that. And then Dog Brothers, that's about taking off the equipment. But for tournament stuff, like we're speaking of, I use the softer sticks. I know a lot of people like to do like a point thing with rattan, which is cool too. But they stop after a good blow, which is cool too. Because I was going to say, like, all tournaments are good. Some are frustrating, but like we used to, poo-poo the fucking, excuse my language, the point fighting, the point karate, first touch. But first touch is a big deal. Like if you can put a power between that first hit, that's a good element to have in your arsenal. The thing where they would scream and try to show the judge, that got a little theatrical, but they're all good. And if you have a blade, first touch is the match.
A lot of people don't understand. It's exactly right. Who touches first? Well, who makes a clean strike?
Mm-hmm.
To an objective strike? And people say, no, well, you're hitting with padded sticks and so on and so forth. But you have to realize, you have to imply that that's a weapon. That's either machete, bolo, barong, whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
or a stick. And if they hit you, I guarantee you that your hand's not going to be there. If I really mean to whack you, you're going to realize real quick that you got hit. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to look into that, and people kind of will get mad because they go, let's go continuous sparring or continuous fighting. And when you have two people that have all the padding continuously, what are you really going to look at? It looks like melee. You really can't judge anything unless and then you go into favoritism, which happens. But
yeah,
so you have to see the strikes. How are we gonna strike? Is the strike coming from back here, and you actually saw that it was a strike, or just this type of Peter Pan? So you really have to separate that, and the referees have to do that. So it takes time. It takes time. It takes time to produce. It takes time to iron out the rules, because sometimes things will change. Then you might have to change a rule or change an observation or how to judge.
Yeah. I mean, another aspect of that is, let's say we were in the jungle or a barrio and we had a machete fight. Even if you get one cut and we stop, healing that cut, there's not a hospital close usually, so it's like, it's a real deal scary thing.
Absolutely. Or you don't have to go that far. You just here, some of the neighborhoods that we have here, get cut.
Yeah.
So so you have to throw that into the equation for it to be how can I put it, to be the end game. That's the reason why it got stopped. It's not continuous, but you have to keep that reality kind of base into the fighters to continue forward.
Absolutely. Like I said, you find the tournaments you like, and there's reasons for them. I like all of them, honestly.
Sure.
I've really enjoyed Dog Brothers. I like that because in terms of continuous, I do like that. I mean, but you're not having with the armor. I mean, you're essentially, anytime you spar, you're really having 150 engagements or fights, because since you're using safety equipment, somebody would stop because it would hurt more. So you're just having continuous engagements, which the fluidity is important too. But
absolutely, and believe me, the Dog Brothers are the leaders of stick fighting in the United States. They're the ones that place it on the map, as per se. I think there was some others before that, but what I'm saying is they're the ones that actually kind of led everybody into the stick fighting realm, and they were very well open. I think it's an excellent tournament, excellent way of what they're doing. It's needed.
Absolutely, and
it's needed, and people need to realize that. They have to realize that. It's kind of like, how can I put it? Kind of like, I'm going to divide it this way: amateur boxing to professional boxing.
Yeah, there you go.
I think some of the other stuff that we do, I think that's amateur boxing. and what they do is more like professional boxing. So you have to realize that a little bit better. So before you go into that, you better have a couple of bouts underneath you with some of the other ones first.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. But it's all going toward the right direction, I think.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, now maybe it was always there, maybe it wasn't, but now we have like HEMA, and they're obviously historical and things, but HEMA, Bar Jitsu now does a cane, Lacan, which you've always been pushing, but that's coming out more. Just you see it more. Some Zulu stick fighting, the
Sure.
Irish stick fighting. Not that it wasn't there, but now it's mainstream again, which I like. I just like anytime you pick up a stick and swing it. That's me. That's what I'm about.
And the beauty of the word stick fighting encompasses all these different stick fightings from around the world. It's a beautiful culture. It's not this one's better than yours, or no. It's a come down here. It's a set of rules and go for it.
Absolutely. Let's see how it
And
stacks up.
and a lot of people don't realize that in competition, it's the one that trained most, the one that trained the skills better, the one that actually went out there and trained
Mm-hmm.
the day of is the one that's more likely going to win.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't train and you're gonna say, I'm just gonna, pull this off, I'm just gonna go try it out, you're not gonna go far.
Right.
It's just like boxing or kickboxing or savate. You have to train for it. You have to take it seriously. You know what? This is what I'm going for. You have to train for that.
Absolutely.
Not
I mean,
just
I was
do
a
it
big
once.
yeah, I was a big technique collector when I was a kid, and I could never pull any of this stuff off. When my first Dog Brothers bout, I was trying to do all these things, and somebody just swung a stick by my face, and my legs got real heavy with lactic acid. I was like, oh man, I got to rethink this whole thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you've seen it firsthand. And you have to train. I think training's where it's all that. And all the stick fighting styles are beautiful. Folks out there, there's not one that's better than the other. It's always the man that does it at the end of the game. It's who's going to
Absolutely.
hit somebody in. If you need it in the street, who's actually going to be the one that's going to crack somebody in the head that's going to go home. And if you're not able to do that, believe me, you're not going home. It doesn't matter how many stick fighting styles you have under your belt. If you don't have
Absolutely.
that willpower to crack somebody in the head,
It's pointless.
it's pointless, But other than that, when's your next tournament? When are you? What's going on in your time frame? So what?
In the my All Valley padded stick fighting tournament, I'll probably do. Historically, it was in March, but all the actually that time frame could still work. I'll bring it back, the COVID thing, but it's actually really good. I made us do long stick due to the COVID thing, just keep people a little further apart, but probably March, and that way it doesn't. It's a nice little setup to the gathering, is because it gets people thinking about it. And then in May we'll have another gathering, but I will give a shout out. In November, we're going to do Beat the Crap Out of Cancer in Los Angeles. So we just have a stick fighting day, and all the proceeds and donations goes to Kids Kicking Cancer, which is started by a rabbi who teaches kids how to deal with the problems of cancer through martial arts. So we donate there, and then there's 7 other cities that donate to other cancer-related charities. So we just have a fight day, all levels. You can do padded, you can do rattan, you can do staff, whatever, but you have to donate to do it, and it all goes to the charity of that city, whatever they're doing. So Beat the Crap Out of Cancer is the next one, and that's a good learning one as well.
You know what? That's an excellent idea, and maybe we'll join you on that one, and maybe it'll be a prequel. This under USA Savate, under the Gentleman Stick Fighting Coalition, this December 4th, if anybody's out there watching, please give us a call. You can even email me at buitronacademy2012@gmail.com. We're going to have the first U.S. or first American stick fighting championships. Hopefully we can start pushing this together. Enough
Absolutely.
of this COVID. Let's stand up there. You know, these guys that fought in the sticks and the legends that are behind the characters that and the instructors and the champions beforehand were those that rebelled against tyranny. So let's keep it going. You know, let's make sure that this goes forward. But and then we can set a tone that we know that in December it's always going to be that, so people can look forward and buy tickets and so on and so forth.
Yeah, plan their
Plan the way, and hopefully we can get some people your way on in if you're going to have it in March or in May, and that's just the way it has to be. And
yeah,
it's people need to start helping everybody move forward.
yeah, and we can just put it up, all the promote everything on all my social media and stuff, and try to get it. Just us thinking about the tournaments that are around. Oh, my nephew, he fights out of Austin. He's a Muay Thai practitioner, and you'll like this story. He went to Oklahoma to do a smoker or an amateur fight. He literally drives into the parking lot, and his the girl that he works with at the hospital says, "Hey, you might want to quarantine. I just got COVID positive." He had to turn around and drive back from Oklahoma to Austin, and he had a fight that day. He's just like, because he'd worked really closely with her, because they're in it's just the medical field.
Sure.
But he's had a couple of fights since.
But did he have some fights in? He didn't have COVID, did he?
No, he turned out that he did not. But it was a little bit earlier. It was like last year, so people weren't quite sure how to, it was like 3 days later you get the symptoms and all that stuff. So he was being responsible, but
absolutely. And I think when this is hopefully when it's all done and over, everybody can start going back to normal. Okay.
Absolutely.
And normal without no other issues, but that they're trying to enforce. But what we need to do is make sure that these martial arts schools keep open.
Yes.
That's what I tell people. Make sure that these schools, folks, when you guys are out there and you do belong to a club, continue supporting that club, especially if that instructor is paying rent and so on and so forth. Hey, help him out, because he was there to help you out when you needed it. So look at that tuition or monthly dues or whatever you have, and use it as that building has to be maintained open, kind of thing. And because a lot of these schools are closing down and they're not opening back up again.
Yeah, and a lot of these folks, keep the classes going in the parks. I mean, some people are getting unhealthy, and that's probably the worst. Sitting around watching Netflix and eating ice cream. I'm guilty of it, but
oh yeah, me too.
But we got to stay healthy, because that's the number one thing. That's
absolutely,
just as much as
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the number one thing to defend against COVID, and we just need to be healthy, and it's good for our minds too. So
let me ask you one last question, my brother. You've been to the Philippines and you made a documentary.
yes.
Out of all those styles that were over there, what was the difference between the attitude of the instructors there compared to what we have here? What's missing? What's aligned? What's not there? What would you say?
I didn't. My instructor, Tuhon Nick is definitely onto his own. When I've trained with some other folks, but so I guess one thing is, I feel like sometimes they're not like MMA fighters, like they're not cut and ripped, but they're so much closer to the art, like the purity of it. And so there's that aspect where it's just, there's something intangible that you're trying to get, but they're just so much closer to the source. That's really interesting. And and they usually don't, there's no no bullshit. It's like they don't waste time with extra moves. It's like real to the point. And they're real violent, but they're also really funny about it. Like if you get hit in the hand, they laugh, you know, like if you're like, ah, you know, it's always like funny to them. I love that. So I guess, what would that be? Just a little, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's just like not here. They're not worried about being sued for going too hard or somebody quitting. They're just like, this is what we're doing. This is stick fighting. I guess
Sure.
that's what I like and notice from all of them. They're not mean, heart spirited, but they don't let you off the hook, which I like.
Absolutely. I think it's and in comparison here, you can see the differences when you train over there. Like I can compare to training in France and knowing those in France. The intensity, the acknowledgement, the laid backness, it's there. You have a lot of banter with
Mm-hmm.
those in France, which you don't have here. And these instructors that you see, you don't see that. You're like, you're teaching. And I remember my professor. You said, I'm teaching you to beat the crap out of somebody. You have to have some kind of, you have to be laughing about it. You can't be mad about it. So you have to be lax about the whole situation for you not to think as it, you know, what he was trying to ingrain in us is like, don't go out and use this. I'm
Right.
teaching you guys how to really maul somebody over. Don't go out there and use it, kind of thing. And
Right.
and people live in the right way. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and I think that's what we need to pass, that fellowship, that bond that's there. It's not here. You see it over there, and I think the same thing happens with the Screamer Masters over there in the Philippines. They have a different bond.
Yeah.
And
I
but you
was,
also,
yeah.
what?
I was just going to say that, yeah, a lot of times, I mean, I guess to compete, you need to make somebody an enemy and all that stuff. Or people need to, some people need to, and I get all that. But ultimately, we are not enemies. Like if you know, yeah, like if you've traveled, I mean, think of somebody that's in combat or a cop, they may actually come up against an enemy.
Sure.
And even there's levels, like, but yeah, we're actually all helping each other get better. That's,
Uh,
you know,
Absolutely. And rivalry, and I understand rivalry, but I also understand the way it goes. But it's these egos that need to be left out, especially.
yeah,
It's not for the benefit of anybody. It's not, surely, if it's always that same person, then there's something wrong with that person, or you know what I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely.
Because then you're not gonna befriend or be a friend of everybody, but at least you're gonna be respectful for everybody.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I will throw this out, and this happened to some friends of mine in Texas that just came out to the gathering, and they loved it. It was three females, and they did great. But they were just like, we fought everybody we know. We know what they do, which is inbreeding. Like, so that's why you have to do tournaments as well. I mean, I have my
Absolutely.
class and my guys, and we kind of know exactly what they're going to do, and you got to get new people.
You have to get new people, and we had a group of girls that came down in one of our championship. They did awesome, and they were from Austin,
I
and
think these may
they
be the same folks.
probably, and they ran around all over the place, and I see them growing, and you're like, great. But I see them at the time when I was taking people, boxers in the ring. We had a
Mm-hmm.
couple of girls boxing, and every tournament that we went to, every smoker that we went to, is there a female here at this weight class? Yes, there's one, and she has 15 fights. And once you said that they had passed 10 or they were fighting open, that girl has probably been there since she was like 10, you
Yeah.
know, and she's now 20 something, and you're like, and she hasn't gone pro because she wants to you win the nationals. You know what I'm saying? Something to that effect. So you have to be very careful because and that's the way stick fighting is right now. The female athletes need to come out and need to come out. They need to start going out there and training and doing it and support each other because
Absolutely.
it's gonna come a chance right now that when you get a female that does fights all over the place and yours does not, there's gonna be a big difference. The skill level is gonna be different.
Yeah, I think jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu has embraced very well the female fighter.
Yeah.
And hats off to them. I think stick fighting can take some time to catch up.
Yeah, it's gonna take time, and I think the separation of the removal of the ego of how can I say, of the instructors that are involved in stick fighting,
Mm-hmm.
that tribalism we were talking about, that has to be removed and allow your students to go in and do it.
Huh?
Allow your students, and that's what it's for. We can be judges, we can be coaches, we can be seconds, and that's something we did over here. We removed a judge as a judge. Anybody can be a judge. You just go and take the classes, and you're taught what you look at. We're taught what to do. And you're a judge.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have that problem in some tournaments as I'm Grandmaster so and so, so I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to judge everything that's going on. And you're like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you take those equations out of the way and try to make it a little bit better for fellowship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brother, what would you like to tell the folks out there that are getting involved with any of the stick fighting styles? And the question comes up, is there competition? What would you tell them to do?
My big thing lately has been, they're like, oh, what style should I do? And what this and that. And yeah, you should study and figure out what you like, but go to the class. I would say start and do it and go to the class that you'll keep going to. So if it's across the street, maybe that instructor's a little newer than the other guy, but if it's across the street or you can go with your kid, just do it because, it's nice to go to I love when I go to see Guru Dan and Asano, but I have to drive through a lot of traffic and it is worth it every time. I get that, but
Sure.
I can get 10, I'm just saying, like, just go to the ones that you can go to and just get out there and do it. Because, yeah, swing those sticks, man. That's all day long. And go see Guru Dan and Asano. Absolutely. And, just go see everybody, but get started and do it. That's what I say.
Absolutely. And that's what people need to understand. And if you love the sport, and those that are out there, there are those that are listening, if you love it so much and you like it, get involved with it. There's different facets, be a judge, be a referee, be a second, start your own club, get the guys going into the competition entity, and take three guys, and you're the second for them, and take them to the tournament.
How about yeah, maybe we also need people to pull up the mats at the end of the tournament.
Sure.
Put the chairs up. Like, that's real. Those
are the things. Somebody told me how many people, what's it consist of in having a tournament? Well, you got a referee, 3 judges. That's already 4 people. You need a timer.
Yeah.
Chrono that's going to be sitting down there the whole time. Maybe you need a second one. That's already 5 right there.
Yeah.
You need an official delegate of the whole shebang. That's
Yeah.
6 people right there. They're going to be sitting down probably the whole day.
Yep.
So you better be thanking them. So you better be the judges and referees. Make sure that everybody's won.
Yeah. And and then someone's mad because you missed a call. They're just human, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you need to understand that a referee might call something and the judges don't see it. Well, the judges didn't see it, and you have to understand, and people need to be aware of that.
I could see if it's a UFC title fight and lots of money's on the line and something didn't get seen. I get that, or the Olympics, but
Sure.
we're getting toward the Olympics, so let's
Let's see what happens. I think it has to unify it in a different format, and it's going to end up coming down to a set of rules that everybody, either you like them or not, but either you're going to participate in it or don't participate in it.
yeah,
And if you like the sport, you'll end up adjusting to it. And if you cannot adjust to something, then you shouldn't be training in the martial arts, because martial arts is about adjusting to any fighter that's coming at you, any type of situation.
that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe martial arts is not for you, or competitive martial arts is not for you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
So because you have to adjust.
Yep. And I guess us as tournament holders have to adjust too. If there's an overwhelming critique, maybe we've got to adjust as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to just see what it is and go with the confines of what you can do.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of things people say is like fight men against women. When the state of Texas, they don't allow us. So we have to respect that.
Yeah.
And then they come out, well, how come? Well, it's not us. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised that Texas it sounds like there's a lot of rules.
yeah, Texas, everything what precedents it is boxing.
Oh, yep.
So you kind of have to follow. You have to have that type of thing with it. And we've explained to them it's about this. It's still you're punching, kicking. Their main rule is if you use any upper or lower appendages, it's considered pugilism.
Right? Is it like some Western, old time Western law?
So you're like, okay, I see where you're coming at. But then you're having a lot of karate tournaments that are doing a stick fighting variant, and it's more like the karate point fighting, kind of the theatrical thing that you come out here and they bounce it off, and is it really harming it, or the Peter Pan strikes, and they're having men and women in there. So I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, hopefully that'll all open up. Yeah, it's that thing when you have to put things in boxes. For them, they just see something and they don't understand it.
Yeah,
So,
people see something and they will, how come well, it's like the weight categories, even in boxing, or the weight categories, we kind of had to do that. We ended up dividing it into three, like from 100 pounds to 149.5.
right.
So 149.51 to 199.5. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
middleweight, and then 200 above is heavyweight. But then somebody comes in, oh well, I weigh 198, and there's nobody in our category. Can I compete? Yeah, you can, because we had to look and study the whole thing, and we got this out of USA Boxing, because then you say, okay, it's not a tournament, it's just a smoker, and in the smoker, it says that I can play within 10-pound.
Okay.
So okay, boom, you're within the 10-pound gap, and boom, you're thrown in here.
Right on.
So there's certain things that it can be changed, or because you can use it that way, and that's just the way it is. And they were there. Remember, we're not redesigning something. We're not designing something. We're kind of redesigning something that's already there. So we have to look at the other sports that are alive and kicking and have done well, and learn from them and move it forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, the MMA thing has definitely made things, I think, easier. Now it's on TV a lot more, but
Yep, absolutely.
that's a good
But
thing.
eventually, the thing is, people are competing and people are going forward, and I wish everybody the best.
Absolutely.
And believe me, for those guys out there looking for equipment, not because brother Nick is here in front of me, but yeah, he sells the best equipment that you guys can get. The best for the price and the best for the money, the best made, period. And we've used it for many years and we continue using it. And that's where my guys go buy your equipment from. Um, lacrosse helmets work. The only difference between a lacrosse helmet and your fencing helmets is that that have no protection in the bottom of the neck, in which that was the main concern of the Department of Licensing and Regulations. Is there any thrusts to the bottom of the neck
Yeah.
area? Is there any strikes? And I said, no. Do they have protection? I go, yeah, some helmets have protection for that when you're even down. So we had to remove the thrust because of that reason.
And the on the lacrosse helmet, you could possibly get a thrust through that. I think it's kind of wider, but
it just depends on the speed, but you can.
Yeah.
So we removed the thrust. A lot of people were mad because we removed the thrust, but I said,
I know. I've been putting my thrusts back in my game. I think they're real important. But I get all that stuff. You got to make it safe. But wow, the thrusting is good stuff.
Yeah.
In Lacan, do they thrust a lot? That's something I don't.
No, in Lacan you don't. Well, there is a thrust called a peak, and there's a bottom of the handle above where you throw. That's called a talon.
Talon. Okay.
So, talon and a peak, and a peak is used. But peaks will go through a mask. Remember, it's wooden down, and a wooden down is going to go through that mask. Wood will go through it. And a Lacan cane, the original ones for that, they're made out of olive wood.
Mm-hmm.
And before they were made out of a persimmon type of wood. It was like a persimmon type tree, and so they have a lot of bounce, but they're still sturdy. And thrusts will get you. So thrusts a long time ago were removed from Lacan, the competition.
Yeah.
Okay, and people need to understand that they were removed from competition. They weren't removed from the self-defense because everything you do in con is a thrust. Eventually. Right. Everything that you do in con, there's a thrust in it. So that's what gets it. Baton the same way. There is a thrust. Baton's a little bit bigger. It's usually shoulder size.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a staff that's up to here. It's not a bigger staff. It goes right to your shoulder. And that's also a very powerful weapon. And what we saw with that, we tried a long stick staff. Remember we ordered those big staffs?
Yeah.
Well, when they did the baton strikes, they broke into threes. They just. So we need to find out how we're going to change that over. It was either the torque and the way the strike was done, comparison of the other ones, because there's a lot of torque when you do an overstrike with the baton, vertical. And because every time Patrick or one of the other guys did it, that baton just snapped into 4 different pieces. So we really need to, until we figure it out, what's going on, because it happened to, I think 4 batons were broken in that one company.
Oh, okay. I want to check out the video.
And so when he hit it, it snapped. So I don't know what's going on, or if it's the intensity of the strike, because it's a pretty strong strike. I don't know.
It was padded though. It was a padded stick, right? But it was the inside dowel of it.
But it just broke.
Yeah.
It came apart. So we're trying to see where it's at. So right now we've taken the staff out just because of that purpose.
I hear you.
Just because of that. But other than that, everything's going in there, going great.
Right on. Yeah.
But other than that, I'm glad to see you're doing well. I'm glad to see that you're pushing forward, and thank you again for continuing doing that, because you've been a great help for this movement.
Thank you. I love it. And you know, yeah. Yeah. And I'm just glad people are doing it because
Absolutely.
yeah, we used to I'd be in Houston and I have to drive to San Antonio or go to Austin because it'd be one guy doing it, and I'd have to go like Ricky Vieira. I'd go hang out with
Yeah,
him, or you know,
Ricky
I just
Rivera was a good man.
yeah,
Perry King used to come down with my dad and my uncle and train and survive back in the 80s. And
yeah,
they used to come down with my dad and with my uncle. He was still alive back then. He was a great man, Ricky. That was the first time I ever saw any Filipino martial arts with Ricky.
oh really?
He went there, so yeah. And you know, I was sad when he passed away.
No, he's a cool dude, and I remember he always had really good kicks too. That was always cool.
He was a good guy. And then you know, he was just a funny guy. And his brother too, because I visited them several times.
Yeah,
Ricky Nevada, may rest in peace.
amen. Yeah, good guy.
Good guy. Well, brother, you keep doing with what you're doing, and let's keep moving forward. And if you can make it out here on December 4th, it'll be great.
Check it out. Check it out if I can. We'll hit each other offline on that one for
Absolutely.
sure. But we'll definitely promote whatever you got going. So send me everything.
You got it.
Okay.
All right, brother. Until next time.
All right. Have a great day. Cheers.